Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I am the Cherishing Fairy and I was really surprised at how many people commented and shared their own experience of their breakup on my last video. So I felt compelled to make this video about why all of this is happening and the spiritual purpose of the quarantine. So what is going on in the earth right now is that every 26,000 years our solar system completes a lap around the galaxy. Every single time we complete a cycle, we move on from one zodiac sign to the next. We just finished the age of Pisces, which was predicted by the Mayans in their calendar to end in 2012, and we entered the age of Aquarius. So our whole experience of life, our whole world is experiencing this more Aquarian energy to our reality. Aquarius deals with technology, it deals with electricity, it deals with global perspective. So we see the rise of globalism and also humanitarian ideas. That's why we're seeing a rise in things like veganism and being more ethical for the earth and the animals and everybody else. So at this point in time, we are at that 26,000 year mark. We are very close to the central sun, which is the sun at the center of the galaxy, which is also a black hole. Because we're so close to it, we're receiving a lot more light, a lot more downloads, and this light is raising the frequency of the earth. As part of this change in sign and entering this new age of Aquarius, old systems are having to be dismantled. So this quarantine is helping with that. This quarantine is that push to be able to birth a new way of living and a new earth. Also, the word corona means crown, right? The crowning of a baby is when the baby's crown of the head starts to show through the vessel of the woman. So corona is symbolic for the birthing of this new earth, of this new way of living. Part of this change is also the collective awakening of a lot of humans, meaning we are awakening to a fifth dimensional perspective of our life. If you're familiar with dimensions, you know that the first dimension is one line, the second dimension is like a sheet of paper, the third dimension is like a cube, the fourth dimension is the movement of a third dimensional object through time, so it almost looks like a worm of an object. And the fifth dimension is all the possible places where that object could move, so it kind of expands out into a sphere. Now, having a fifth dimensional perspective of one's life means that you see all the possible choices you could be making second by second and where those choices could lead you. So that opens up all the realities that you want to experience, and if you can adopt this fifth dimensional perspective of your life, it really makes manifestation a lot easier. In the fifth dimension, time is not linear, time is simply the now, always. Whatever perception you have of the past, of the future, and where you are now is the center of your reality. Also, in the fifth dimension, there is no such thing as good or bad or good or evil. Everything is oneness. Everything is part of the collective. Everything is part of the way that it's supposed to be. In order to awaken or raise our vibration or enter the fifth dimension, sometimes we have to go through a dark night of the soul, which is a phase where we experience all of our fears and lower vibrational emotions that we may be holding on to subconsciously in order to release them and be able to transcend them and raise our vibration and enter higher dimensional states of consciousness. The universe has the ultimate power to move oceans of quantum energy, to put people in the right places and where they belong. Right before this quarantine, everybody was being shifted to where they needed to be for the quarantine period, which is the ascension period. Wherever you ended up is very symbolic and metaphorically significant. For example, I ended up being single and moving back to my parents' house for the period of this quarantine because it was my purpose to, during this quarantine, heal through that dark night of the soul and release any fears or traumas that I had related to being alone and even living with my family. Growing up, since I was 13, I always wanted to leave my house. And so as soon as I could, at 18, I left my house. And the way that this quarantine happened and me ending up at home and knowing that I can't leave and I can't go look for a place and I can't go look for a job, and I'm being asked to just sit here and to deal with that fear that I had of living at home. I'm going to share another very personal piece of information about why it is that I couldn't stand being at home. Like I said, my little brother has autism, and it's always been really hard simply witnessing a lot of the violence and rage that my brother goes through. Seriously, is like a horror movie sometimes. He's made so many holes in the walls from banging his head on the walls. It's almost daily, the screaming and the rage and the banging on the walls and throwing things and, you know, screaming to the top of his lungs. As an empath, it had always been so difficult for me growing up here at the house, being tired of the chaos and being tired of the screaming. Every time it happens, although I know I'm safe, I just get this shot of like adrenaline and nervousness all throughout my spine. And the magical thing that happened with this quarantine is that being able to come home and feel safe and feel grounded here at the house. This is the first time that I'm here at the house and I can see myself staying here long term and focusing on myself instead of trying to run away. One day my brother started screaming again, and instead of feeling this dread of like I don't want to be here, I wish I was somewhere where I could just live in peace and harmony, instead of feeling like that, I felt that's part of life, like just my brother screaming. But I feel happy because I'm safe here, and I feel happy because I have a place to stay, and I have supporting parents that are helping me through this. And this is honestly the most grounded I have felt since I was a child and I ever first thought about can't wait to leave my parents' house. So yeah, that's what the quarantine did. That was the spiritual purpose of this quarantine, for me to get rooted and grounded in the place where I belong, and also for me to transcend that fear of being alone. I really enjoyed reading all your comments and personal experiences in my last video, so please comment down below like your experience of this quarantine, what you're going through, and I wish you all a lot of love, peace, and happiness. See you next time. Bye.